in. No.
Okay. Did girls need to wear a head covering, or did they just let it go until you got to a certain age?
Yeah. Girls had to wear a hat. Yeah.
At any age?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, except the little kid, not in school, probably not.
Well, I was wondering about what age did that become expected, 7 or 8?
Right. Before that.
Okay.
When they went to school, yeah.
Okay.
When they went to school, yeah.
Interesting.
St. Rita, what kind of music do you remember that we played back in the day, say in the 40s or 50s or earlier? Do you remember the type of music that was it organ music or?
Yes, yeah.
Did they do any kind of Gregorian chant? And there's also some very, very beautiful Marian music, the Santa Barbara Choir. I mean, were we doing that kind of sacred music?
Yes. Gregorian, yes.
What I'm going to do is, Larry, I'm going to bring in, and I've got a little CD player, but for our listening audience, I'm going to bring in some of the chant and some of the Marian music so that they can hear the beauty.
Well, we could just probably pull some off the internet and run it through the speaker.
Yeah, well, I'll bring it in and I'll show you which ones I'd like to pull off.
No.
But, okay, that would be great.
It's easier that way than working through CDs these days.
All right.
So, what other things have you noticed, Mom, that people used to do and expect? I know Father Havel talked about talking in the sanctuary as being a sin, but and when you were a kid, when people would walk out of church, did they stay quiet, or was there talking going on then? Do you recall that?
Most of the time they were quiet till they got outside.
Right. And I remember that as a kid. As soon as you held your tongue, you didn't say anything till you got outside those doors in the back.
Right.
And people would be talking in the hallway, but not in the sanctuary.
Right.
Well, eventually what people are going to say is, nothing going on here. Just a memory or something. He ain't in the tabernacle. Let's chit-chat about the ball game.
And that's one of the reasons they moved it to another room, the tabernacle.
Well, they say that.
Well, but they're doing it more and more and building new facilities with this.
Well, I would say what you should do is instruct the laity that we need to go back to reverence and our Lord is front and center where the altar is, and that we need to change, not the position where he is at.
Oh yeah, you got priests that are doing that. I heard about our friends down in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, that used to have Father Ron Stone in there, and a real quality conservative priest, much in the line of like a Father Havel. I mean, these guys came out of the same stock.
Okay.
And my friends down there were saying that Father Stone would come back into the sanctuary if people were talking and admonish them and remind them that you're not to be
good for him.
Talking. Our Lord is still here.
And they
pay
responded.
Well, they realized they got themselves a bit of an ass chewing, rightly so.
Right.
But that's the job of the priest, to behave like a priest.
Right.
And that's to teach,
respect.
Right. And to teach your parish, what's going on here. Because a lot of people, they're not thinking about it because they haven't been enforced with it.
Right.
So they didn't have good, solid instruction or people to pattern off of. Monkey see, monkey do.
Sure. Well, eventually, they don't even know it's there.
Right. And this is the diminishing, and this is where the modernism is doing and coming and running the church down into this, I'm okay, you're okay, we're all okay.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Eric Burns' mantra. St. Rita, did you, what do you think of when we stop in the church and let's extend ourselves the sign of peace? What do you think of that new order of presentation? I mean, I can tell you, I don't particularly like it. I think it's an interruption. I see people waving at each other, giving the peace sign, and all I want to do is like crawl under a rock because and Italians love to hug people and shake their hands, but it just feels so creepy
Well, you got the guy over in the corner with jazz hands going, yeah. It's like you got Tim Walls. Hey.
Am I the only one?
Well, no. It's like, dude, enough's enough. You don't need to get everybody in every pew.
Right.
Like the people next to you around you, fine,
Well, the Mexican, I went to Mass at St. Joseph on Sunday, and the Mexicans, which is very nice, they come up to you and they extend their hand and shake it. That's all right, you know what I mean? But it's not this sort of like waving at each other. And they said, well, you want to shake hands, I'll shake your hand, it's fine. But it's done in silence and quiet, and they're not all over the place trying to. Yeah. But I don't like it. I think the Mass is the Mass. We're there for Christ. We're there to receive Him. We're not there to, if you want to embrace your brother or your sister outside of Mass, that's absolutely fine. But it just seems to me to be kind of cheesy.
I say do it before the Mass starts.
Extend yourself to your brother and sister.
Right. Say hello. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
But to do it during the order of the Mass, I always found that kind of creepy.
Yeah.
And, and you watch all the guys at that time, they're all like wiping their palm off on their pants because they all got sweaty mitts at that point. Now they got to start shaking hands with the guy with a wet hand. Everyone's trying to rub their hand off before they.
I extend my clammy
hand your way. Yeah. Here, shake this thing.
Larry and I have waited. What's your sense of that, Rita, as far as.
What do you think about the sign of peace and when they brought that out? Did that concern you at all?
That didn't bother me. No. But to do it.
So when you extend the sign of peace, what do you normally do?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Rita. So, Rita, when you extend yourself to show them the sign of peace, what do you normally do? Just shake their hand or?
Either that or just wave to them, like.
Okay.
Some of them don't want to touch you because of disease stuff.
Well, she went through Mass through the COVID thing.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted to touch anybody, and they were sitting so far apart.
Right.
And she hasn't been to regular Mass in quite some time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but she's been doing the Mass. When was do you recall the last time you actually went to Mass? Was over at, probably at, there at
probably 2 years.
St. Patrick's there, yeah.
Yeah,
it's been a while. It just got to be too hectic and troubling to migrate her over and back, and it's just easier for her to do the shut-in Mass, and they bring her communion, and that's a blessing. So to be getting that, but
so I'm at this church, and they don't extend the sign of peace. So as I'm going out, I looked at the Padre, and I go, Padre. And he looks at me, and I go, I see that the sign of peace wasn't extended here. And he kind of looked at me, and I said, thank God. And I hugged him. So,
well, I think some priests, found that it was getting a little bit icky and out of hand. Becoming too much of a social thing.
Some of these poor people, some of them they're not natural. They really, they're not natural even in regular life in terms of wanting to touch people or engage like that. And that's fine. That's their prerogative. That's they just, and in church they definitely feel very uneasy. When you look at them, it's. I don't know. But at any rate, that's not as important as anything. But we are talking about the reverence of the Mass.
Yeah, it's not about personalities. Yeah. It's about the Mass and the format and the reverence. It goes, with these things. The Mass is not to be, taken as some sort of celebrity hunt type of thing. It's more of like bringing it into yourself and trying to atone.
Oh, absolutely, Larry. I mean, and I told Larry before, I'm amazed that we don't see a lot of people dropping dead at the Mass. Because if you look at
hang around, you may see one.
But if you take a look at the stories in the Bible of the Holy Ark of the Covenant, which was a prototype, by the way, that had Aaron's bones and 10 Commandments or whatever, significant things in terms of Old Testament They had important things, and the people that carried the Holy Ark of the Covenant, those people had to be somehow endowed with the sufficient grace. And a little side note, the people that carried that Holy Ark of the Covenant were relatives of the Blessed Mother. However, if people would approach that, Holy of Holies and stuff, and this, again, it's a prototype, but concentration of, God's seat. If they touched the Ark, they ended up dead. So I'm thinking Holy of Holies, the Holy Eucharist. And I'm surprised that we don't see people keeling over. But of course, our Lord would have to compensate. I mean, how would people take that?
Well, I see people faint in the resting in the Spirit and things like that. We would pray over people. If the Eucharist was there, yeah, they would fall out even more so. And, it had Esther Pafford.
Yeah.
That time.
For healing, right.
Well, Bob, her husband, says, Esther was like the queen of prayer healers. She taught Irv Kloska.
Yeah, Esther, yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
And there was one time Irv and I were up there, and I started praying over people too with Irv because there were so many. Bob comes up to me and says, he just whispered, he says, Esther's never gone down for anybody. No, everyone's prayed over her. She's never gone down. I just touched her, and boom, she's gone.
Yeah.
And Bob's looking at me. He's like, "What did you do?"
Yeah.
I said, "I didn't do anything."
Yeah. Holy Spirit did.
I said, "Don't blame me."
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
They said, "Blame the guy in the monstrance."
Yeah.
Yeah. He did it. And Esther, she comes up. She goes, I don't believe that happened.
Yeah.
But Esther was very tight, but she didn't think it could ever
happen to her.
Right.
Yeah. There you go.
And I knew she wasn't faking because she went down.
Yeah. Well, she's used to being the one that lay the hands and the people go down. So, she probably didn't, if she never went down, she wouldn't anticipate it. But then our Lord brought in the big guns.
Well, it was
very,
and Esther, I think, wanted to come over and, be close. Irv's line was so long and I was shorter. So,
was that right? Let's get this over with.
Yeah, but
well, it'd be more appropriate from you because Irv would have been a
redo. It'd been a repeat.
But Irv would have been an offshoot of
Esther. Right.
So it's sort of like the
and I was kind of coming in as an offshoot from Irv, and then Esther.
You were coming in as an offshoot of Our Lady of America.
Well, yeah.
That has been in. I mean, the idea that you and Irv, cahoots and laying of the hands and stuff, and you had some beautiful miracles as a result of that. But your ministry is separate from Irv's or Pafford's.
Well, I didn't want. I wasn't comfortable with that, but it was Irv gave me
the confidence,
to do it.
But it's you represent the most significant and important intervention of God in terms of apparitions of our Blessed Mother, of Our Lady of America.
Well, I think to some that may be, but I don't have really any title or anything like that. I just have an understanding, I think, of what's going on.
No, that's
and
good.
I think St Rita has joined that too. Hey, Mom, when do you think was the first time you realized that something definitely was happening there in Rome City with these healings and things like that? Was there one indication? Was it the sun spinning? Was it, people reporting to you afterward how they felt about things? Was there any one story that you remember most?
Well, just as I watched them, if they went down, I knew something happened to them because they don't go down by themselves.
No.
So, yeah. So.
But
I never went down.
No.
You don't
I
have
never went down.
You have the healing heart and the healing faith. You don't have to go down.
Man, I tell you, I would just smell those tears of Mary on Irv's thumb, and I was gone. I mean, the first time he prayed over me, I just thought that was, that's all crap. Okay,
Right.
do what you got to do. Boom, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm out. I'll show you.
I'm a believer. Yeah, I believe. Well, you were a believer anyways. It's just that
I just didn't think that
this
stuff
aspect
was real.
of resting.
I
in
thought
the
that
Spirit
stuff
is-
was all fake.
right. Take a Uber or whatever they call them. and you'll go down, especially when they overcharge you.
Well, we had lots of instances. I think the one healing that happened there, you remember our friend Pam from Missouri?
Yeah.
And how she showed up that day. You know, her husband drove her over from Missouri, and she showed up needing a walker, and I think she might have had a wheelchair too, because she was not stable. She was not strong at all. But I think we had the rosary that night, and I don't know if there was healing. I don't think we did the healing that night, but she did the rosary, and then I think the next day, I don't know if Irv had been there and prayed over her or what, but that woman was walking without her walker.
Huh.
And she ended up leaving there not needing her walker or her wheelchair.
Healing.
2 days.
Healing.
She went home.
Did it last?
Yeah.
Well,
She went home.
So
and her family wondered, and everyone around her from her church, like, what happened?
Yeah.
And she just kind of smiled and says, what do you mean what happened? She goes, well, you're not the same. She goes, well, I went to Rome City, and she's, happy, but she's, not, I think, understanding how bad everyone saw her as, because she was dealing with her own situation. This is a woman who was a nurse herself.
Wow.
And so she's one of these, serve me last kind of people. She's very humble and very.
She was used to being taking care of other people as a
right. Don't worry about she is definitely part of the I'm just dust argument. And I know she's hearing this right now because she watches.
Okay.
So we love you, Pam, and hang in there.
Oh, absolutely.
Best of Bob. Tell him he'll get over the Kansas City Royals someday. We'll get him out of it.
Yeah.
He's a junkie for the Royals. I always kid him about his affinity for being a Royals fan, but that's okay. he likes baseball, and that's their team. And so I just joke with him. I love baseball, and the Royals are cool with me. So beautiful. I like gigging them. But we had just so many things happen there, and those are not part of normal church tradition.
Not really. I remember there used to be the Feast of St. Anne. People would go to ask for intervention. I remember the candles with the throat, healing of the throat. St. Blaise. But I don't remember the priest, actuating their charism of healing, because they do have that. It's not just, the healing of when you're dying. That was meant healing that you could have, like healing services. And a lot of them are very shy of doing that because they're afraid God's not going to show up and they're going to look foolish. Or that the whole idea is that God will show up and don't worry about you looking foolish. Worry about, fulfilling that aspect of your priesthood. But even when we went to India, Father Rookie said, you just have to tell these priests that they have that same capacity of healing. They just have not gone out on a limb. And a lot of them did when I went to India, I think began to do that healing service aspect of the resting in the spirit. Larry and I talked a lot about, we read in, one of the saintly books about, Saint Joseph and the incarnation. And I know you read The Mystical City. Do you remember the chapter or some of the information about Saint Joseph and how he was alerted that Mary was with the child as a result of the Holy Spirit and the conception? Do you remember any of that story?
Well, I thought the angel told him.
You go ahead.
The angel did tell him. Yeah.
He was going to leave her. Joseph he was packing his bag to go.
And so why was he going to leave her, Rita?
Because she was pregnant, and he didn't know how she got pregnant, and he was going to take the blame, and he would act like a cad and leave her alone.
So really, he was trying to protect her. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Otherwise, they'd have stoned her.
Okay.
So.
So would they
And
have
he knew-
would they have stoned him for leaving?
No. I
So
don't think so.
he felt he'd be safe, but she'd be at risk.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah,
was trying to save her life.
Yeah.
So now they would, in their mind, they would say, "Who is this Joseph to abandon
Yeah.
her?" The
She'd
poor
be
woman.
Mary Magdalene. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So he would stay there and just be the daddy, the father, and
Yeah. He decided to do that. Well, no, the angel told him to stay and take care of her.
So now, at that point, what we read from Maria Cecilia Baj was that after he found out, he felt very, kind of felt guilt that he was going to leave her, and he.
Right,
So what was that
right.
about? Why would he feel guilt that he? In other words, he should have just had more faith in God, or what?
Because he didn't believe her. He didn't trust her. He didn't know what she was.
his humanity was too strong. That
Yeah.
he couldn't,
Very
he,
good,
he couldn't
Rita.
believe that the
Yeah.
spiritual, that the Holy Spirit could do this, because it
Because
was,
he knew he didn't
right.
do anything. Yeah.
But she tried to console him in saying that I understand your position, and but okay, I never thought of that. In other words, his humanity overruled anything spiritual, and he'd been a spiritual man.
His human brain was stronger at that time than his spiritual thinking,
Sense, okay.
and he still had faith, but he didn't have knowledge yet.
Okay,
And then
Right,
the
right,
angel came and
right.
gave him knowledge.
okay, that makes sense.
When he
then.
became knowledge
okay,
and knew, then he became confident and powerful.
okay,
And this is why it's really important for people to know who they are.
right,
They can't believe they know who they are. They need to know who they are,
right,
because the test is coming. And when that test comes, you're going to need to know who you are in order to answer
right,
properly.
right.
You know, Joseph learned in that moment, but when he learned, he was so happy, he was almost out of his skin.
Right.
And I told Alex and said, well, you better unpack that bag really quick before Mary finds out, because she ain't going to be happy if she finds out he was ready to leave.
Well, and the only vision I had when he said that was a little bundle on a stick.
The little bum bundle, the stick with the handkerchief and all your belongings in the back.
And so it said that he was waiting, outside of where she was praying in her home. And finally he decided, well, she's still praying. I'll go, put my stuff back. And Larry got me laughing, like, you better undo that bundle before she gets out.
Yeah, you better put that stuff back before she comes out, because she ain't going to be happy. Where were you going?
Yeah.
What's this about? I could just imagine that whole thing. And he's like, nothing, dear.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a precious story, and I think it very uplifting, because so many of the things we talk about here in terms of the condition of the church and of the people that are operating in the church, and even our own condition, so as pathetic as it is, these are so uplifting stories of God's love and mercy, and his, and then many of the people that St. Joseph, St. Mary, how they were placed in difficult positions throughout their whole life in serving God. And but this very nation, Jim Carrico said, the most important thing in the history of creation and of humanity was the incarnation of Christ, God becoming man.
Well, God did it his way. That's no doubt, different, and it set the tone, but he had two people there that were ready, and Mary was already on the page. Joseph was the one who had to learn, and he got his
He got
learning.
it. Yeah, he ended up getting it.
Yeah, but they're both very natural. Mary's like, how could it be me? I'm just dust.
Absolutely.
And so she's been saying basically the same thing since she was a kid.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Joseph has come along. He's wanting to just be this celibate helper,
Right. I don't want to.
and now I'm going to be a daddy,
Yeah.
But
Yeah. He was our Lord's father on earth, and our Lord was obedient to him. No doubt about it. And our Blessed Mother because he said, I want to serve you, and so on. And a lady said, I want the contract that we had before is that I will serve you, and as the head of the household. So, investing in this fatherhood and her giving the full support of him being the father to Jesus, and to not exalt her above himself, even though she was above him, she wanted to be underneath him. So there's humility, and I think that they tended to, who could be more humble, but she's always going to win out.
Well, they're both there, and you always let the lady win, even if she's wrong.
Right? Yeah. My fault.
Well, that creates for the happy household, and that's not bad. It's just being considerate. Do you want to win the argument, or do you want to have peace?
In the home.
Right. And there's
we know that.
Men know the answer to that.
Yeah. Right away. Yeah.
Be at peace in the home, and say yes, dear, and you wait for a couple of weeks, and maybe she comes around and says, maybe I was wrong about that. Maybe I knew right away, but that's all right. So but that's how you got a guy who's happy, I think, who doesn't care if he wins or not. He's happy. I got my family, I got my wife. I know why I'm working.
That's right.
I'm happy. I'm happy with this arrangement here. So no one has to win. It's not about winning. It's about everyone getting there. So
Get along.
Yeah. Grow up and get along. So I'm trying to think. There was something else that I was concerned about. So we covered the music. We covered the veils, things like that. Is there anything else that you've seen that's happened in the church, especially since you've been an adult, that has you wondered yourself, well, why did they get rid of that, or why aren't we doing that anymore?
Yeah.
Is there anything you can recall?
I don't think so.
Thinking
That comes to my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to remember during Lent. Remember the different churches would cover the statues and the cross. Do they still do
During
that?
Lent.
During Lent, yeah.
Yeah.
Do they still do that?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, because in my small town there were like 3 Catholic churches, and we would visit each one as that they would prepare for Lent, and it was very memorable to me. Easter was such a joyous, all this doom and gloom and the covering of the statues, and then all of a sudden is the resurrection on Easter. And then, of course, the bunny rabbits and all the candy and all that stuff.
Oh, the real stuff.
But I mean, it actually almost like a lifting of celebration in the home. You go to Mass and then you'd go home, and there was this very light, beautiful feeling of acknowledging and participating in that event.
Well, in the home, we used to have the priests that always visit, every home in the parish.
Did they?
Yeah, it was habit, and it's coming back. Some of the priests now are starting to do it again, but for 25 years, 30 years, 40 years,
Wouldn't do it.
it wasn't a thing.
Huh.
They didn't go out and meet the families in the home. I remember Father Havel, we had 1,500 some families in the parish.
Wow.
And he would try to be in everyone's home once every 3 years.
It took that long to cycle through it. Yeah.
Right, because, people got to be home. You want dad home if you can. So it'd be after dinner type quick visit.
Wow.
So,
yeah, this day and age, I don't know what the...
he said he learned about every chocolate chip cookie that there ever was.
Jeez.
In the parish, chocolate chip cookies every sort of different way.
God love him.
That's kind of what everyone went to, was the Toll House chocolate chip cookie. He said, not everyone can make a good cookie.
He knew it. Right?
Yeah.
This is a blue ribbon cookie. This one.
This is a beginner. This is an old timer. This one's got raisins in it. Yuck.
Well, I mean, the fact that he cared for the families and wanted to be a good priest, do the best that he could, and he did. Father Havel, He did. He had a lot of wisdom. He was offered to be the bishop of Fort Wayne, South Bend, and he preferred to be a priest in those duties.
He turned down being a Monsignor just because it came with a little bit higher pay. But he said no, he didn't want the title. He didn't want the elevation.
Stuff, yeah.
He didn't want to really be known, except as a good parish priest. And everyone that I ever ran across that ever knew him, the older folks, that said, man, one of the best priests I ever had. They all remember Father Havel, for how he taught them. And when he got stern with you, he got stern.
He wasn't there to give out Goody Two-Shoes Award. He was there to support the eternal life of family and the members in the family. He wasn't there to just, pass over. If he had to correct you, I'm sure he did it.
Oh, he did, yeah. He'd be he could go from laughing to correction really quickly if you did something out of turn. Mm-hmm. And I, of course, I did.
Can't believe it.
I did ring his bells a few times.
Did you?
Yeah, I got it. But sometimes I was kind of playing with him just to
see a reaction.
Yeah, just to jack him around a little bit. But he had a good sense of humor, and a lot of times it would come out in ways that you weren't quite expecting. But it was pretty funny. So we'll have more stories of that. I got St. Rita's got some pretty good Father Havel stories from fishing trips and things like that. We'll get to those someday. But
so Rita, did I ever tell you the story when Mother Teresa's boss came to the restaurant?
No.
He's the Archbishop of Calcutta, Henry D'Souza, and he was in Fort Wayne, and I was working with a priest that was at St. Joseph Hospital, and he happened to know, and he brought the Archbishop to the restaurant. So, being like Larry, I said to him, Your Eminence, I'm very pleased that you're here. What an honor to have you here at the restaurant. I said, but I would much rather it had been Mother Teresa. And I'm yanking him. I'm doing Larry, right? So here's what he says. He goes, we wouldn't be welcome in India if it wasn't for her. so right away, the guy, my heart went out to him, right? He was just saying, like, this lady extraordinary, He said, anytime she comes to me, I said, well, Mother Teresa, well, whatever you want, Bishop. Next day, he goes ahead and signs whatever she wants to do.
Well, you brought him up to say Mass. Wasn't he the one you brought in from India?
Who did I bring in?
You brought in a couple of them.
Oh, I think that was Bishop Topo.
Is he the one that froze and had the Eucharistic miracle in the chapel while he was doing Mass? He was frozen for several minutes.
Could have been him, yeah.
Is that Topo?
Yeah, it wasn't Cardinal Topo. They're all named Topo. He was at the restaurant, but I think that what you're talking about.
This guy was pretty up there.
Yeah, he was a bishop of. He was the bishop. He came up, I think, before I went to India, or did he? No.
I called around. I got about 20 people there for Mass.
I think it was Bishop Topo. It might have been Henry D'Souza, but if it was D'Souza, it wasn't me that put it together. You might have had Mother
or you
Teresa.
Sent him up or something. But he had a connection with Mother Teresa. Anyway,
whoever. Well, if he did, then one of the priests got him to come here. Then
he was brought in, and we did this Mass, and he froze while he was holding the Eucharist up, and everyone thought, "Is the guy having a stroke?" Because the man is frozen.
Wow!
Right there,
yeah.
And then
I think you had Mother Teresa's boss up.
And then he's going into this, and he said he could see the face of Jesus right there in the Eucharist.
Oh my goodness!
In that moment. And it was just like the guy was just totally frozen. It wasn't a moment. It was a extended pause.
Wow.
And everyone's looking at me like, do something. I said, what do I mean do something? The guy's...
So did he explain to you he saw Jesus in the Eucharist? Or
afterward.
No kidding. What did he say to you?
I asked him, I said, what happened? And he goes, what do you mean what happened? I said, who did you see? I said, you saw somebody. I said, you saw something besides that host you were holding up there
Oh,
and consecrating at that time. He said, I saw the face of Jesus in the host.
wow.
And he says, I couldn't stop and tell everyone at that time because I was in the midst of the Mass.
Wow.
But, I mean, it was a long, very uncomfortable pause.
I'm gonna, next time I'm going to bring a picture of him, and you tell me if this is the person.
No, I'll try to refresh, but he was...
You'll know because between both of them, they're very distinct in their features.
Oh, okay, well, he's a nice guy. And
And he's a little bit more lighter in complexion
this guy was fair-skinned.
than you had Archbishop Henry de Souza, Mother Teresa's.
Yeah, that's what I think it was, yeah.
That's who you had. Wow. I might have mentioned to him and told this padre, make sure you bring him up to the Springs.
Well, they showed up ready for Mass. And they were planning on saying Mass.
It was a miracle.
And I didn't have approval for him, but he promised me he was leaving town within 24 hours.
Did he?
Yeah, because that's the rules.
Wow. Oh, is that right?
Yeah, if you're only in town for 24 hours
In other words,
or
he
less,
could say Mass because
right, you don't need approval.
Okay.
If you're going to be in town for more than 24 hours, then you need a letter of approval.
All right. Yeah. Boy, isn't that something? Learn something every day on this podcast.
Yeah, but no one follows it.
We're
Few
just,
do.
we're dust in the wind.
We always did. Well, and we're trying to figure out some of these neat riddles and things where the humanity, intersects with the spiritual side of things, and that's where, I think your traditional practices should stay, because that's where your relevance is. Not from somebody coming up with a new song lyric or something like that. We don't need to go back and reinvent a lot of these things. We need to understand the ones we already had. After 2,000 years, they had a lot of time to get it right.
No, and I think it's that we should not be in control. Is that God is in control, and we're there to worship and to love a God that went to the cross. And it's a power thing. Mm-hmm. That the same thing with this nonsense that they're going, it's all power and control and money. These are not the things you should be concerned with. You should be concerned with, you doing your job and we doing our job and
making sure every mind in the pews is understanding of what's going on.
Right.
And a lot of times that's left out, because you have disregard for the Eucharist. You have disregard for the place you're at, with the talking and things like this. Lack of depth of, commitment to the process here. They don't understand, and they need to be reminded many times. So, did you ever have that with your kids in CCD class, Mom?
What?
Trying to teach them decorum in the Mass and as this is going on, how to behave in the church.
Not unless it was in the lesson. I didn't put in anything extra, whatever. So.
Did the kids go to church when you had the classes, or is it just classes?
Not just class.
So
we didn't have any Mass at all when they were there.
Okay.
So they would go on Sundays with their families. So yeah.
Yeah, most times. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd hope they did.
But I didn't have any control of that. So
yeah, you didn't have any control over those things, but
no.
But she had good classes. I had people come up to me years later. I'd be in high school and says, "Oh yeah, your mom was my CCD teacher."
So I understand that Father Habel would often come over to your house for dinner. Is that correct?
Yeah.
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 Did you ever make any chocolate chip cookies for him?
He had his share. Yeah.
Because Larry says that when he used to visit houses, he became an expert in eating chocolate chip cookies because they would prepare for him before he came over.
Yeah, a cookie was always easy, and he'd end up sometimes with a go bag, a little bag of cookies to go home with, and sometimes he gave them to the housekeeper, sometimes he ate them.
Yeah.
He was no fool, let's put it that way. And if you really wanted to get on his good side, a piece of nice warm cherry pie with 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream,
Sounds
not one.
delicious.
He liked his ice cream and he liked his cherry pie.
Well, Larry, you know how
Right.
to bake. Bake us a cherry pie. Have some. I'll bring the vanilla ice cream.
I got vanilla ice
I'd
cream.
love to- you got
I'll make you a
vanilla?
pie next
All right.
time.
I love cherry pie.
It might be a rhubarb strawberry.
That'd be okay. The other thing I like coconut cream pie and banana cream.
All right, Gilligan.
Just in case you're out there and you're not listening, but you can donate a.
Send Alex a pie.
Yeah.
Coconut cream.
Well, you told me some people are listening to the podcast, right? There's some people.
No, they've got enough
There's
people.
at least 2.
There's 3.
Okay.
So, all right, Mom, you got anything else to add to this
Nope.
fine mess we got going
Write
here?
it up. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. So I'm going to let you go. So love you. I'll call you later tonight.
Okay.
Bye,
All right,
Rita.
love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Where are you going?
I'm done.
You're done?
I'm done.
I guess we're done. So with that, we love you, and we'll be back.
We'll be back next week.